My grandpa was the village dentist. Once he pulled out a dead man's tooth, fitted into a living person's mouth. That very night, the gate of my house was suddenly knocked on. An eerie voice kept shouting, "Give me back my teeth." My grandpa is an old dentist. Whenever anyone in the village had a toothache, they would come to my grandfather for treatment. Before dawn that day, Jiang Chun from the north of the village came banging on the door. He said his tooth had been aching for most of the night. Let my grandpa take a look. My grandpa took a look inside his mouth, said the tooth is rotten to the root. It needs to be pulled out. Jiang Chun covered his cheek and said, "Do whatever treatment you can. Don't let it hurt anymore. I'm almost dying of pain." My grandpa nodded. "Let him in." My grandpa went through a great effort to finally pull out the rotten tooth. Jiang Chun's face visibly relaxed, got up to look in the mirror. Looking at the tooth hole in the mirror, he frowned and said, "Uncle, I'm getting married next month. This gap in the teeth is too ugly. People will laugh at me when I go out. Give me a false tooth to fix it up." My grandpa froze for 2.5 seconds. "Chunzi, I've always only done tooth extractions. No dental fillings. Besides, filling teeth is expensive. I can't fix it for you." Jiang Chun was unhappy when he heard this. "Uncle," said, "you're afraid I can't afford it. You're the only dentist in our village. Money is not an issue for me. As long as you fix my tooth properly, money is no object." My grandpa looked troubled because Jiang Chun was related to the village head. Not easy to mess with. My grandpa forced a smile and said, "Chunzi, Uncle isn't worried that you can't afford it. It's mainly that Uncle doesn't have ready-made dentures here. What do I use to fix it for you?" Jiang Chun was getting impatient with Yang Leo. "How could you be so ungrateful? I know your family is having a hard time. That's why I'm here to support your business. You have to fix this tooth. You have no choice but to fix it. Delay my wedding. You can forget about doing any more tooth extractions." I quickly tried to calm him down. After hesitating for a moment, "I also seem to remember something," said with a smile. "Chunzi, don't be angry. Go back and wait for a couple of days until the wound heals. Uncle will fix it for you. You'll be satisfied." Upon hearing this, Jiang Chun laughed, patting my grandpa's shoulder, praised my grandpa for being sensible. My grandfather forced a smile, escorted him out of the yard. My grandma overheard my grandpa's conversation, came over to ask him, "Old man, our family has always only pulled teeth, never filled them. Where are you going to find fake teeth for Jiang Chun? How can we turn down a business that comes to our doorstep?" "I have a way. Don't ask around. He has a terrible temper. You dared to deceive him. He won't let us off the hook." Grandpa saw me playing with stones in the yard, dragged my grandma into the house. I heard them whispering. A few days ago, Wang Len's father, Old Man Wang, had just kicked the bucket and was buried in the back mountain. That place is usually deserted. Tonight, I'll take a shovel to borrow one of Old Man Wang's teeth. "Old man, are you crazy? Old Man Wang once saved your life from the jaws of a wild wolf. Aren't you afraid of retribution for doing this?" I quickly covered my granny's mouth. "Old hag, shut the hell up. I had no other choice. If we don't fix that damn Wang Shon's teeth, we can still have a good life in the future. Besides, Old Man Wang is already dead. What could a dead man possibly know? There's no other way. Don't you worry about it. I'll handle this. I'll offer him more sacrifices later. He can't blame me." After saying that, he urged my grandma to cook. As night fell, my grandpa took a shovel and went up the mountain. The back mountain is very remote. There are many trees and wolves. There are also quite a few desolate graves. No one dared to go, even in broad daylight. My grandma was afraid that my grandpa would be eaten by wolves, worried all night without sleep, until the rooster crowed. My grandpa hurried back in a panic. He was covered in dirt. As soon as he entered, he sat down in the yard. My grandma hurriedly helped him into the house. He trembled as he took out a human tooth from his pocket. The tooth was covered in dirt. Scared my grandma. "Did you really dig up Old Man Wang's grave?" I nodded as well. Old Man Wang didn't rest in peace. His eyes weren't even closed. I was so scared. Did anyone see me? There's no one on the mountain. I clutched my chest and kept muttering, "Sinning, sinning." After eating, my grandpa soaked the teeth in the medicinal solution. Before long, the dirty teeth became extremely clean, as if it were brand new. My grandfather placed the tooth in the sunlight, examined carefully, finally showed a smile. This tooth is definitely perfect. 2.5 days later, Jiang Chun came to my grandpa to get his tooth fixed. My grandpa took out the tooth. Jiang Chun took a look. His eyes widened. Uncle, where did you get the tooth from? It looks as big as a real one. Nephew, this is a good tooth. I saved it on purpose. This time I'll fix it for you. Let you marry in a grand style. Don't forget about your old uncle when you strike it rich. Jiang Chun laughed and said, haha. I also applied the medicine properly for him. Installed Old Man Wang's tooth onto Jiang Chun. The tooth was big and white. It stood out starkly against Jiang Chun's other teeth. Jiang Chun looked in the mirror, beaming with joy. My grandpa said with a smile, how is it? Satisfied? Jiang Chun smacked his lips. Satisfied? It's just that the root of the tooth is a bit itchy. It's fine. You'll get used to it in a couple of days. Jiang Chun took out a few cents from his pocket and handed it to my grandpa. My grandpa was stunned for a moment. Chunzi, this isn't enough. Uncle, I've been busy preparing for my wedding recently. Short on cash. Wait until this period is over. I'll make it all up to you. My grandpa saw that he wanted to renege, was immediately enraged, but he didn't dare to say anything. Jiang Chun saw that my grandpa didn't say anything, turned around and walked out the door. After Jiang Chun left, my grandpa was sulking. My grandma served him a meal. He still refused to eat. As it was getting dark again, my grandma advised him, old man, don't be angry anymore. At least have a bite to eat. I also gritted my teeth. Cursed that when the eldest comes back, I must settle the score with Jiang Chun. As soon as the words were spoken, footsteps came from the courtyard gate. It didn't sound like normal footsteps to me, as if hopping along. At that moment, the courtyard gate was knocked on. Who could it be at this late hour, old woman? Go and check. I followed my grandma to the front gate of the courtyard. Who's out there? As soon as my grandma finished speaking, the knocking suddenly stopped, but no one responded. My grandma paused for a moment, shouted loudly again, who's out there? Still no one responded. Both my grandma and I were stunned. There's a small hole in the courtyard gate. My height was just enough to see outside. I pressed my face against the door and peeked outside. This glance revealed Old Man Wang standing outside the door. He was covered in dust, mouth wide open, as if he had just crawled out of the grave. The gaze seemed to carry endless resentment. I was so scared that I fell to the ground with a thud, was about to burst into tears. My grandma quickly helped me up. Xiaokunzi, what's going on? What did you see? Granny, it's Old Man Wang. Old Man Wang came knocking at the door. My grandma's face suddenly changed. Stop talking nonsense. But as soon as he finished speaking, the knocking on the door sounded again. This time the force was even stronger, almost banging on the door. My grandma panicked. Whose Bryat is this? Causing trouble at my house in the middle of the night. See if I don't teach you a lesson. My grandma had just finished speaking. Unexpectedly, there was a response from outside. Old sister, it's my son Genzi's father. The voice was exactly like Old Man Wang's. Sister, me teeth were taken by brother Yang. Hurry, and make him give it back to me. I looked at my grandma, wanted to ask my grandma what to do. But just as I was about to speak, my grandma covered my mouth, dragged me back to the room. My grandpa heard the commotion outside, coming out to ask what's going on with you two. My grandma pushed my grandpa back into the room, saying it was Old Man Wang. The corpse came back to life, coming to ask for his teeth back. My grandpa froze for a moment, frozen in place. At this moment, Old Man Wang outside the door suddenly started wailing, Brother Yang, give me back my teeth. My grandpa was so frightened that he plopped down onto the ground. My grandma quickly closed the door. The light was also turned off. Old Man Wang kept knocking on the courtyard gate. The wailing grew louder and louder, until nearly midnight. The pounding on the door gradually faded away. The three of us hid under the quilt, dared not even breathe. The day had dawned bright. My grandfather picked up the iron rod and mustered the courage to open the courtyard gate. Outside the door was a scene of chaos. There were human footprints all over the ground. Both wooden doors were covered in claw marks. Shocking. At this moment, several villagers hurried past in panic. stopped in their tracks upon seeing us. Uncle Yang, something bad has happened. Zhang Chun kicked the bucket last night. When we arrived at Zhang Chun's house, I was stunned by the sight before my eyes. The courtyard gate was wide open. All the ducks and geese were torn to pieces and scattered all over the ground. The entire courtyard was filled with the smell of blood. Yang Chun's corpse lay on the ground, covered with a straw mat. The head is missing. Zhang Chun's mother knelt on the ground. There wasn't a trace of color on her face, as if they had seen something terrifying. The village chief and the patrol team surrounded him, looking at each other in dismay. My grandpa greeted the village chief, asked what had happened. The village chief's face was grim, whispered that Old Man Wang, who had just been buried a few days ago. The corpse reanimated last night. My nephew Zhang Chun had his head pulled off by him. My grandfather swallowed hard, whispered to the village chief, "This must not be spoken of lightly. Old Man Wang has already been buried. How could he possibly come back to life?" My grandpa had just finished speaking. Zhang Chun's mother, kneeling on the ground, shouted, "It's Old Man Wang. I saw it with my own eyes. That ghostly thing kept banging on the door outside." My son Chunzi had just opened the door. Old Man Wang bit Chunzi's neck, ripped his mouth apart, shouting for his teeth. Chunzi hadn't even come to his senses yet, had his head ripped off. My poor child. Yang Chun's mother wailed and burst into tears as she spoke. I saw my grandpa's face turn deathly pale, was speechless for a long time. The crowd chattered for a long while. Someone suggested going to the back hill to check Old Man Wang's grave. If it's truly a case of corpse resurrection, this is serious. We must deal with it immediately. We can't let it harm anyone else in the village. The village chief thought it made sense. Let everyone grab shovels and hoses. Swarmed up the mountain. Arriving at Old Man Wang's grave, we saw offerings scattered all over the ground. The soil also seemed freshly turned over. The village chief frowned and shouted, "Dig it up and take a look." A few young men picked up shovels and started digging. But they had only dug halfway. Wang Gen, Old Man Wang's son, wailed as he pushed his way through the crowd. "Who told you to dig up the grave? Get out, all of you. Get out." He stood in front of the grave, was very angry at the villagers' actions. The village chief glared at him. "What the hell are you yelling about? Your father came back to life last night, and even tore off Zhang Chun's head. This scourge must be dealt with immediately." Wang Gun is a filial son, got furious at these words and swore, "My father was a virtuous man all his life. How could a corpse come back to life and harm people? I think you just have ulterior motives. Seeing my family is poor, you come to humiliate my father." My grandpa and grandma stood in the crowd, heads bowed, not daring to say a word. The village chief didn't waste words on him. "What are Zhang Chun's brothers waiting for? Get him out of here." Several people hurried forward, dragged Wang Gen aside. Wang Gen was pinned to the ground, crying and cursing. The few people paid no attention. Finally, Old Man Wang was dug out. The moment the coffin lid was opened, everyone was stunned. Old Man Wang lay stiffly inside, covered in blood, holding Zhang Chun's head in his arms. His hollow eye sockets were wide open, staring fixedly at my grandpa, like a vengeful ghost, demanding justice. Scared my grandpa so much that he broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing Old Man Wang in this state, everyone exclaimed in shock and stepped back. Wang Gen was also stunned. The village chief snorted coldly, said to Wang Gen, "See, your father was indeed a corpse that came back to life last night, took Zhang Chun's life." Then he asked everyone, "What do you think we should do about this? This thing has already been stained with human blood. Not to deal with it quickly, it might harm people again. In my opinion, let's take it back to the village and burn it." My grandma and I were stunned when we heard that. The village's old tradition. The dead should be buried in peace. Only the most heinous individuals are burned by fire. Wang Gen also widened his eyes with an incredulous look. He also shouted at me, "Uncle Yang, my father saved your life. How could you say such a thing? We told your father to die and still not rest in peace. Don't burn him. Who would dare to keep living in the village? Village chief, this corpse must be burned. We can't bring harm to the villagers." The village chief looked at the others again, weighing in his mind. My grandfather saw him hesitating, and this thing took Jiang Chun's life. Upon hearing this, everyone also chimed in to burn Old Man Wang, so the village chief agreed as well. But at this moment, Wang Gen broke free from the restraints, pulled out a machete and held it in front of everyone. Whoever dares to burn my father today, I will perish together with him. The village chief was furious. What nonsense. Who do you think you're scaring? Get a few people to tie him up. As soon as the words were spoken, several people were about to grab him. Wang Gen saw that he couldn't hold them back. His face also showed urgency. Started cursing the bastard. What's so great about being a village chief? Tomorrow, I'll go report you to the county government. None of you will get away with this. Before he could finish speaking, Wang Gen was slapped several times across the face, tied up, and thrown aside. Watching helplessly as his father's body was carried out, Jiang Chun's brothers, trying to pull Jiang Chun's head out of Old Man Wang's grasp. But despite everyone's Herculean efforts, the head was still tightly held by Old Man Wang. Just couldn't pull it out. In the end, everyone had no choice but to give up. We'll carry Old Man Wang back to the village and figure out a solution later. Wang Gen glared fiercely at my grandpa and cursed, "You ungrateful wretch. You'll get what's coming to you sooner or later." My grandpa pretended not to hear, pulled me and my grandma to walk downhill. Just reached halfway up the mountain. My grandpa told my grandma that Old Man Wang was really creepy. Old Man Wang is truly sinister. Go home and stew a pot of meat, then buy a string of firecrackers to set off to ward off bad luck. My grandma nodded in agreement. At that moment, we ran into the village. Beggar Liu Lazy. Liu Lazy reeked of alcohol. My grandpa frowned, told him to get out of the way. Liu Lazy did not move aside, still grinning and saying, "Mouse, are you guys going to have stewed meat?" My grandpa glared at him and said, "None of your business." Liu Lazy moved closer, winking and making eyes to cozy up, saying, "I haven't had meat for ages. It's been a long time since I had meat. My stomach is growling with hunger. Give me a bite of the meat too." I didn't want to deal with him either. Get him out of here. But at that moment, Liu Lazy grabbed my grandpa's arm, sneered, "Uncle, I saw you carrying a shovel up the back hill the night before last. You even covered the teeth of the dead. I really admire you. If the village chief finds out about this, can your family still stay in the village?" Liu Lazy's words hit like a thunderclap, made my grandpa's face change instantly. My grandma shouted loudly, "Are you trying to blackmail us or what? Auntie, what are you afraid of? I can keep a secret. I just haven't had any meat in my belly for a while. Want a piece of stewed meat?" My granny is about to scold him again, stopped by my grandpa. "It's just a piece of stewed meat. No problem. No problem. Nephew, come to my place tonight. Eat as much as you want." Upon hearing this, Liu Lazy was overjoyed. Said thanks. Went off. My grandma was furious with the old man. Liu Lazy is clearly trying to blackmail us. My grandpa angrily kicked me. He found out about the stolen teeth. We can't afford to offend him. Let's go home first. Back home, my grandpa asked my grandma to pick some big chunks of fatty meat to stew. Stewed a full pot, fragrant and enticing. As evening approached, Liu Lazy indeed came. He barged in energetically, smelled the aroma of meat, rushed straight to the kitchen. He pushed my grandma aside, too hot to care, picked up a piece of pork belly and stuffed it into his mouth. Delicious. So delicious. Auntie, I've had my eye on those two fat pigs of yours for a long time. Finally got to eat pork today. My grandma was trembling with anger on the side, was pulled back into the house by my grandpa. Liu Lazy probably hadn't had a full meal in ages. A full pot of meat was quickly devoured, but he still wasn't satisfied. Turned his head and saw me. When the meat was just cooked, my grandma served me a piece. Let me eat first. I'm still young. I ate slowly, and now there's still half a piece left in the bowl. Liu Lazy came running over with a hubbub, reached out to grab the meat from my bowl. I was instantly scared to tears. Desperately clutching the bowl, Liu Lazy saw me guarding my food and kicked me to the ground with one foot. The meat also fell to the ground. He picked up the meat from the ground and stuffed it into his mouth. My grandma rushed in and cursed, "You damn dog. Why don't you choke to death? Liu Lazy ignored my grandma, lying on the ground rubbing his belly. What a joy. What a joy. Haven't had such good food in a long time. My grandpa walked into the house unsteadily. He smiled and asked his nephew, "Is the stew tasty?" Liu Lazy nodded vigorously. "Delicious. Are you full?" Liu Lazy nodded again. "Full. It's getting late. It's time to go back and rest." Liu Lazy suddenly sat up. "Go back? Go back where? I don't have a home. Your place looks pretty spacious. Tonight, I'm staying at your place." My grandpa heard this, immediately got anxious and said, "What? You want to stay at my house? How can a stinky beggar like you live in my house?" Liu Lazy was immediately unhappy. "Who are you calling a stinky beggar? Staying at your place is doing you a favor. Or should I go live with the village head?" My grandpa immediately backed down, quickly forcing a smile. He said, "Nephew, that won't do." After saying that, he yelled at my grandma to quickly clean up the north room for our nephew to stay. After Liu Lazy moved into our house, he just wouldn't leave. My grandpa was afraid he would go out and talk nonsense. Didn't dare to kick him out. Just wanted to wait until Old Man Wang was completely burned. Find another excuse to drive him away. But for 3 consecutive days, it was overcast and rainy. There was simply no place to burn the body. The fine grains and meat in our house were all eaten by Liu Lazy. He lay on the earthen bed, patting his belly as he slept soundly. My grandma dragged my grandpa to the woodshed, crying and complaining it's all your fault. Had to steal teeth from a dead man's mouth. Now Liu Lazy has got hold of our weakness. Hurry up and kick him out. My grandpa's face was also grim. "You old hag. Shut up. If we drive him away, what if he goes to the village chief to spill the beans?" My grandma got anxious, squatted on the ground, and started crying. Annoyed by him, my grandpa gave him a kick. Suddenly, someone pushed the door open and entered the courtyard. "Mum and Dad, I'm back." It was actually second aunt who came back. Aunt works in the city and only comes back every few months. Every time she comes back, she brings me delicious food. I quickly stood up and called out for my grandpa. "My aunt is back." My grandpa came out of the kitchen. A smile finally appeared on his face when he saw my aunt, Annie. "Why are you back at this time?" Without giving a call in advance, second aunt was just about to speak to my grandpa. Liu Lazy walked out of the house. Liu Lazy immediately spotted my second aunt, fair and clean, made her eyes gleam with desire. "Uncle Yang, is this your daughter?" My grandpa saw her lecherous look, fuming with anger. Second aunt was also stunned. "Dad, why is there a beggar in our house?" My grandpa didn't dare say much, hurriedly called my grandma to take second aunt back to the room. Liu Lazy kept watching until second aunt went back into the house. He wore a sinister smile on his face, wondering what he was up to. When it was time for dinner in the evening, Liu Lazy kept grabbing meat with his hands to eat. It was utterly disgusting to watch. My aunt listened to my grandma talk about the events of the past couple of days, frowned deeply. Liu Lazy glanced sideways at my aunt, asked with a smile, "What's your name, little sister?" Second aunt ignored him. He took another sip of wine. Then he asked how old she was. Second aunt still ignored him. Liu Lazy's face immediately darkened. I quickly chimed in, "Old woman, take Elni back to the room." My grandma pulled my second aunt up and left. I sat beside my grandpa, watching him drink one cup after another in silence. Liu Lazy asked my grandpa, "Does your sister have a sweetheart?" My grandpa ignored him. Liu Lazy added, "I don't have a sweetheart either. I see your girl is pretty. Why not follow me? We'll be one family from now on." I spat in his face too. Shouted, "In your dreams. What do you think you are, Liu Lazy? A toad like you dares to covet my daughter?" After saying that, he stormed out of the main room. At that moment, 2 young men suddenly rushed in from outside, with an anxious look, as if something big had happened. I was also taken aback. What's going on? Why the hurry? Something terrible has happened. Wang Gen took advantage of the darkness to steal his father's body from the village hall. The village chief sent us to call for help. No matter what, we must catch Wang Gen tonight. When my grandpa heard that Wang Gen had run away, hurried to grab the hoe. Liu Lazy heard the noise, came out of the house and asked what was going on. What's all the noise about? Old Man Wang's corpse has been stolen. Hurry up and grab your tools. Let's go find him together. Upon hearing this, Liu Lazy halted in his tracks. I'm not going. Go if you want. Whoever wants to go, can go. But the two young men wouldn't take no for an answer, grabbing him by the collar and dragging him back. Then one of them spotted me. The kid must also go. Upon hearing this, my grandpa became anxious. Nonsense. Kunzi is just a child. What do you want him to do? The two young men said the village chief ordered. All able-bodied men must join in the search. I didn't dare to say anything. Had no choice but to take me out the door. It was already completely dark. Only scattered torches illuminated the village. Half asleep, the village was filled with the figures of men. Everyone was cursing and searching everywhere for Wang Gen. Liu Lazy was afraid we would abandon him. He clung to us desperately. But after searching for most of the night, we still couldn't find Wang Gen. Unknowingly, we arrived in front of the village committee's dilapidated temple. Liu Lazy spotted a figure moving inside the temple at first glance. We found Wang Gen. I quickly raised my torch as well. It was indeed Wang Gen. Wang Gen crouched in the corner, looking at us with terror-filled eyes. I saw Old Man Wang lying on the ground, covered with straw. My grandpa made a move as if to call for help. Wang Gen staggered over, plopped down on his knees in front of my grandpa. Uncle, don't shout. I barely managed to steal my dad out. He's my only father. I can't bear to see him reduced to ashes. Have mercy on us. Let us go. I'm kowtowing to you. With that, he began to kowtow incessantly. Seeing this situation, Liu Lazy had nothing more to say. At that moment, a patrol team in the distance spotted us, started shouting at us. Wang Gen heard the noise, quickly hid in the temple again. Those people slowly walked over. Did you find Wang Gen? My grandpa wrote that the broken temple is right inside. In an instant, several burly men barged into the dilapidated temple. Oh! Fighting with Wang Gen. The village chief and others also arrived. Seeing Wang Gen tied up, couldn't help but step forward and kick him. The village chief cursed, "You damn brat. Still trying to sneak your father away. Your dead father won't rest in peace. You won't have peace, even while alive. He took the life of my nephew, Zheng Chun. Today I'll make both of you pay." Wang Gen glared at him fiercely, heard the village chief cursing his father, opened his mouth and bit the village chief's ear. The village chief was so frightened that he sat down on the ground, howling in pain. "Let go, you damn thing. Let go." But Wang Gen refused to release his grip no matter what. He bit off half of the village chief's ear. The village chief covered his ear and shouted, "Tie Wang Gen to the tree for me! Whip him hard." Everyone was bustling around in chaos. The torchlight was flickering everywhere. In the chaos, someone suddenly screamed, "Look! Old Man Wang!" Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. In the shadowy corner of the dilapidated temple, a withered figure slowly stood up. I also gasped in shock. Oh no, Old Man Wang has become a zombie. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd immediately erupted in chaos. Someone kept shouting that Old Man Wang had risen from the dead. Old Man Wang is coming to claim his life. Then everyone was thrown into chaos. Old Man Wang held Zheng Chun's head, glanced at my grandpa with hollow eye sockets. Suddenly, he vaulted over the wall and vanished. The village chief shouted loudly for people to chase after him. Don't let him get away. Several strong men chased after them, but the other villagers were already out of control. Everyone panicked and ran home. My grandpa held me in his arms. Taking advantage of the chaotic crowd, they shook off Liu Lazy, also ran home. He kept looking back as he ran, afraid that Liu Lazy would follow. He entered the courtyard in a panic. Before my grandma and second aunt could ask anything, he propped the door shut with a piece of wood, urged us to move to the back room. Hide quickly. Old Man Wang has turned into a zombie. Many people have taken shelter at home. It looks like something big is about to happen. Second aunt asked. That beggar didn't come back with you. Mind your own business. Good riddance to him. Let's hide quickly. Don't open the door no matter who knocks. With that, my grandpa turned off the light. Our whole family hid on the kang. It was pitch dark outside. The wind also stopped. The chickens and dogs also stopped barking. My granny asked the old man, "Do you think the patrol team can catch Old Man Wang?" My grandpa stared out the window and whispered, "No way." When my father was a child, he encountered this thing once in the village. 12 strong men couldn't handle it, and that thing even claimed several lives. This time, it's probably more bad than good. My grandma asked them again if they knew that you pulled out Old Man Wang's teeth. As soon as the words were spoken, my grandpa glared fiercely at my grandma and said, "Shut up. Shut up. Stop talking nonsense. Shut up." My grandma stopped talking. At that moment, sudden footsteps echoed through the quiet alley. Our hearts immediately leapt into our throats. Auntie muttered, "Is it Old Man Wang coming?" My grandpa shook his head, saying it sounded like a person. Just as the words were spoken, my home's courtyard gate was banging loudly. "Young Leo, you old bastard," abandoned grandpa and ran away. "Open the door quickly." It turned out to be Liu Lazy. My grandpa froze for a moment, realizing something terrible. Why did this damn thing come back? What should I do? Don't let him in no matter what. Don't mind him. He can't break the door down. He'll leave in a moment. But to everyone's surprise, Leo Lazy yelled and pounded, dead set on not leaving. Second aunt was anxious. "Dad, get him out of here. He keeps knocking like this. It would be trouble if Old Man Wang is drawn here." I had no choice. Could only grab the hoe and head to the door. "Young Leo, I know you're in there. Open the door and let me in. Old Man Wang has entered the village." I also shouted, "Get lost. Get lost. Don't come here to bring disaster to my family." Liu Lazy also got anxious upon hearing this. "Uncle Yang, save me. No one in the village will take me in. I don't want to die. Open the door for me. Let me hide. I'll serve you like an ox or horse to repay you." But you just let out a cold snort. "You bastard. Eating so many days of my family's food for free, and even has designs on my daughter. Today, it would be better if Old Man Wang bit you to death." Upon hearing this, Liu Lazy, his tone suddenly turned vicious. "I'm telling you, young Leo, this time I'm going to stay at your place no matter what. If you don't open the door for me, I'll go and lure Old Man Wang over. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Don't you dare regret this." My grandpa's face also showed panic, hesitating whether to open the door. At that moment, the sound of thumping echoed through the alley again, accompanied by terrifying low growls. Liu Lazy shouted that Old Man Wang was coming. I heard the noise. "Open the door." I gritted my teeth and opened the courtyard gate. Liu Lazy stumbled and scrambled inside. I quickly closed the door as well, but the door was only halfway closed, was stuck by something, as if something was pressing against the door from outside. My grandpa pushed hard against it. Unable to push it open, he stuck his head out to look, and then saw Old Man Wang's withered head. Then, Old Man Wang's hand suddenly landed on my grandpa's shoulder. Aunt and Grandma turned pale with fear. My grandpa trembled all over. Before he could react, Old Man Wang had already grabbed him by the throat. Old Man Wang exerted his strength and yanked my grandpa's head right off. Liu Lazy turned his head and looked. My grandpa's head was thrown into his arms. Glaring at him with rolled back eyes, he screamed in terror. My grandma quickly pushed us into the room, slammed the door shut. Liu Lazy was still standing in the yard, scared stiff. Old Man Wang opened his mouth and pounced on him. Liu Lazy scrambled and stumbled toward the house. Before he could run 2 steps, Old Man Wang grabbed his leg. Liu Lazy collapsed to the ground, scared to death. As Old Man Wang was about to reach Liu Lazy, suddenly, a commotion erupted outside the door. The village chief led a group of people into the courtyard. "Quick! Old Man Wang is here. Pour the gasoline." Old Man Wang feared the firelight, turned around and tried to run, but the gasoline had already been splashed onto him. Then the torch was thrown over, instantly set Old Man Wang's body ablaze. He was engulfed in flames, running around wildly in the yard. After hopping around for quite a while, he finally collapsed to the ground. Everyone watched as Old Man Wang was burnt to a crisp. My grandmother held my grandfather's head and second aunt, kneeling in the yard, wailing loudly. The other people present also couldn't help but sigh. "Auntie, Old Man Wang has already been burnt to death. The vengeance for Zhang Chun and old brother Yang has been served. Please accept my condolences." Don't be too sad. My old man was just fine. And now he's gone like this. How am I supposed to live without my old man? The village chief let out a long sigh. Brother Yang died an unnatural death. The village will cover the funeral expenses and pick a good plot on the mountain. Let him go with dignity. After saying that, he had all the villagers return home. Only a few young men were left to help with the funeral arrangements. My grandfather's body was cleaned up, considering that it's not good for the journey with the head and body separated. The village chief also sent someone to the neighboring village to fetch the stitcher. Sewed my grandfather's head back on. My grandfather lay quietly in the back room. According to the old custom, 3 white candles must be lit in the room for those who died a violent death, to prevent the corpse from reanimating. After a whole day of busy work, it was just getting dark. Everyone went back to rest. I also went back to the room with my grandma to sleep. After some time, I woke up needing to pee, got up to use the outhouse. Just stepped out of the door. I heard a strange noise. Listen carefully. It seemed to be coming from my grandpa's back room. I suddenly felt a bit scared. I mustered up my courage and walked to the back room window. Peeking through the gap, I saw Old Man Wang standing next to my grandfather, grabbing my grandpa's head and pulling out his teeth. My grandpa's teeth. I screamed in terror. Suddenly, Old Man Wang reached his hand into my mouth. "Child, can you give me all your teeth?" I woke up screaming. I saw my second aunt anxiously watching over me, and Mother, Kunzi, woke up. My grandma saw I was awake, hurried over. Thank heavens, my grandson is finally awake. It turned out that on the night my grandpa's body was laid in repose, I somehow developed a high fever, kept talking nonsense, shouting that the teeth were gone. I wiped away my tears, told my grandma about this eerie dream. My grandma comforted me, saying it was all just a dream. It's all over. I suddenly remembered something. Asked my grandma about my grandpa. Is he still in the back room? My grandma sighed and said, "You've been unconscious for 3 days. Your grandpa's funeral was already held." I nodded, remained silent. At that moment, I suddenly felt a surge of metallic blood taste in my mouth. I opened my mouth and spat onto the ground. It turned out to be a tooth. My grandma smiled and said, "My grandson is growing up. It's time to change teeth."